Hello, Dr. Wilkinson here again. I got to the stage of where I was trying to actually see things work, and there's tuning in terms of geometry and structures in order to get things to work right. And even now it's still got to go to another final, more polished stage of assembly and powered by motors and stuff to see where there's still probably some more tweaks to get things to behave correctly. But the first thing that was happening was this pole was not getting far enough back in here for the rings to drop on. So that forced me to go and come back to the tilt of these things here. I had actually flattened them out some in order to make it easier to get underneath the goal, but in reality that tip is essential in order to tip this thing back properly to get it into the spot. To solve the problem, I took out, there was a 1/8 inch spacer here that I took out, and I took the 1/8 inch spacer that here was out and put in a 3/8 inch spacer. Then I went to 1 1/2 inch standoffs instead of 1 inch standoffs here in order to lower it down more while this front tip was raised up some. And then I had to cut out in this part here in order to properly clear this when I come back in. So I've had to do some sculpturing in order to get things to work right. At least work right to the best of my ability right at the moment. So now when I set the goal onto the thing, or I could run it to pick it up, but right now it's easier to just set it on there. Notice where now my goal, my thing is here. When a donut comes up off the top, it'll get brushed off, I think, and tend to fall onto the pole. Remember, there's a belt up here that's helping to guide things, and there's the incline conveyor that's pushing rings up this incline conveyor, pushing these rings up to here. So this is my hope for final geometry. I may have to still put more tip in those fingers down there in order to get what's needed here, but I can't tell that until I get to final operational stage. Notice on this upright here, get back in my camera, notice there's these fingers that stick down, which their intention is when these rings are coming up off the conveyor, they're going to hit that in worst case and fall onto the ring. And so that's part of it. But these are a funny kind of a ring that it's deformed some, and how that dynamic is going to work if it's like in this orientation, or this orientation coming off the conveyor may be an interesting, provide some interesting, funny things that we have to accommodate that I don't know about yet. So that's this end of things. On the other end now, I've put in the Lexan floor into the conveyor, the ramp conveyor, and fastened it in, drilled my holes. I used a drill press to drill those holes cleanly in the plastic because it is a bit tricky. And I don't know if you guys have easy access to a drill press. Freehand drilling is fraught with lots of risk of not getting it quite right, because you got to align your holes. You know, from here to here, you got to align them, and here across the side, you got to align them. Now, down here, and this is another place that I had to make some modifications. I actually took my motors off. They were mounted on bearings here, which pushed them this way. I took out the bearings and reversed the motors that way to make more space. The consequence was now this could widen up a little bit, and I could move fasteners to locations that don't rub against the motor. But what I had to do is take that plate that I did before, what I think it's a 5x7 or 5x9. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 by 5 plate. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 by 7 plate. And I had to take one of the special holes. Let's see if I've got an example. I'll get a piece of plate in my hand. If you take this piece of plate, you'll notice that in between the matrix or a pattern of 4 square holes is this little diamond-shaped hole in the center of it. I had to drill one of those out in order to get proper spacing to get the slope. To get the slope right on the final fingers. So that was another customization operation. But as a result, I'm no longer, this screw is no longer down here at the bottom, but rather up the side of ways. This screw is no longer as far up here as it was. It's now down here. So it lowered my platform, and then I've moved my these fingers out some in order for them to be pretty much at the end of the vehicle. I don't know if that's the right choice or not, but again, we'll have to try it. It's all a case of how do these kinds of donuts, how do they get up onto the platform? And remember, we've got our beater going on right here, which could affect where this edge is with respect to the beater, because the beater is going to be coming off from, its axis is going to be right here. And it could be that it wants to have the beaters hitting the backside of this to help it up on there. I don't know if that's true or not. And you do have a different situation here, which this may not. You may have to approach these donuts in a special way in order to get them to come up, because right here now it's underneath the platform. Yeah, and I guess in that case I don't know quite what's going to happen. Now, something I did by looking at drawings, I could see that the bottom of this platform was even with the bottom of this beam going across. I could find that in the drawings, and I've tried to do that roughly. I'm not perfect, and I may have to make it more perfect before I'm done, but this is where I'm at right now. So that's that. My next thing, or just as a reminder, this is the conveyor. It's all set to go to just back the screws out of those standoffs, and stick them through those holes and mount this thing, and the conveyor belt will be on there. See, I gotta move my darn camera properly here. So here's a standoff, goes into there. Standoff goes into there. Standoff down here. And a standoff over there. And I did have to be careful with my motor. Actually, by lowering these plates, I gave clearance for this motor, which I didn't have before. So I got a blessing from having to lower that platform. So that's that part. And the only other part is this guy here that's going to sit on here with the beaters. I've got a few modifications to make before that's ready to mount. But here's kind of the setup of where it goes. And you can see where the axis of this is and where the donuts are going to go. See, it's going to be interesting to figure out. It's going to be interesting. So I don't know if you guys have gotten to your stage of actually having your robot do some of the things it's supposed to do and finding tweaks that you've got to make in order to get it to behave properly. That covers today's discoveries. Hope you're having a good time. Take care, guys.